This is Big Tasty Sports.
It's been a couple weeks since we've done a futures report, so we are going to rectify that today. Updated all the lines. I will show you the line sheet as we go through some of these different teams. So got across 5 books, the best futures lines, overs, unders, divisions, all that kind of stuff. Please do like the video. Also, if you are interested in not just seeing these reports, but having access to the dashboard and seeing any bets that I make as they come out, lots of other resources, you can go to bigtastysports.com, click on futures at the top, and it will tell you everything that you need to know. I'm going to walk through what I see as things that stick out after updating all these futures lines. Why do you care about futures? We're almost to the actual season when you can bet on individual games. Totally get it. 2 reasons I think it matters. Number one is when the futures markets move, it tells you what the perception is, what's going on with some of these teams, especially if there's larger moves, which isn't happening a ton at the moment, but there are a few places where it is happening. As we get into the season, that's going to happen more and more, and I think that'll be something that can help you gauge sentiment, not just for futures betting, but also for your week-to-week betting as another element that can play into telling you where the market is at. So it matters for that reason. Number 2, I still am of the belief that futures markets are softer than week-to-week markets in the NFL, especially if you're shopping across multiple lines. You'll just see this, that they're not always as dialed in. And so if you're in this to make money, not just to have a good time, though hopefully, making money and having a good time go together, then this is something that I think would be of interest to you. So all that said, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's jump into the futures report. First, we're going to talk about overs and unders. Obviously, these kind of go together, and I have a few things to highlight here. This is my line sheet, and you can see here all the teams on the left, and then the prices across these different books. I have MGM grayed out for the win totals because I was not able to find them listing any win totals right now, and maybe I just did not find the right place to click, but I scrolled through everything that they were offering for futures numerous times and couldn't find it. So we have that grayed out at the moment and are not going to take seriously any of the lines that are there because they may not still be there. So we'll just look at the other 4 books for this. First one I want to point out is Atlanta. The Atlanta Falcons continue to get some steam. Part of that is along with the Saints, they have the easiest schedule in the NFL this year, and part of that is the division they play in. But Bijan Robinson looked good. Ritter looked good enough. So I think that there's a little bit of encouragement, people believing that the Falcons actually can be a decent team this year, and in that division with their schedule, that's probably all they need to be. So you can see that 3 of the 4 books that I'm looking at had the price go up. That's when it's highlighted in red. That's what it means. You're getting a worse price today than you were getting the last time this was listed. Across the board, there's a -125, -132, -160 at BetOnline now. So it's gone way up. It'll be interesting to see if the rest of the market follows suit or if BetOnline ends up coming back. The best line that you can still get today is -120 on the over 8.5. And again, I do want to say, I'm not saying you should go bet these things. My point here, I am going to give you the bets that I like the best at the end of this, whether I'm making it or not, the places that stick out to me. Many of them are things I've already bet, so I won't be betting them again. But I want to give you the information that if you like Atlanta, just know that, that price seems to be going up. Or if you really don't like Atlanta, you're getting a better price on their under today than you were before. We could scroll across here and see Atlanta on the under. You can get +130 is the best line now, and that is a better price than the last time that I did this. All right, next up is the Buffalo Bills. You can see here that 2 of the books have this is interesting to me. The price has gone up on Buffalo. If you want to go over 10.5, the best you can do now is -144. And then there's a -150, -155, and -159. There wasn't a lot positive coming out of the Bills' last preseason game. I think the most that I heard was that the offensive line looked terrible. Full disclosure, I did not get to watch the game. I'm trying to catch parts of some of these preseason games, but mostly I just see highlights here and there. So it was interesting to me that after what seemed to not be an overall positive report on the Bills from their last preseason game, this price has still gone up on Buffalo. And so the market continues to like the Bills. And you can see that actually, I don't know if I have this written down for later, so we'll scroll over on their division as well. Buffalo, the price has gone to plus 125 is the best you can get. I believe it was either 130 or 135 the last time that I did this. So on the division, Buffalo's price is getting steeper as well. Next, we go down to the Los Angeles Chargers. And again, here you can see that 2 of the 4 books I'm tracking had the price go up. It's interesting. BetOnline is posting some really high prices on some of these, higher than market. And they're all the way up to minus 145 on the over 9.5 for the Chargers. You can still get minus 120 at DraftKings, minus 121 on BetRivers. But you can see that this price has moved up. I think there's a lot of positivity on the Chargers for good reason. Yes, they have to prove to us what they can do defensively, but man, Justin Herbert looks good. That offensive line looks good. They have some really good weapons and not a horrific schedule. So them going over 9.5, that's actually something that I think is likely. I have them at 10 or 11 wins. It's not something that I bet, and I don't know that I'll bet it because it doesn't have the kind of clearance based on the price that I want, but I can understand why that line is moving up. It's a good team, and they should have a good year. The last one to talk about here is the Tennessee Titans. This line continues to get steeper. Minus 118, you can still get on over 7.5 at BetRivers, but after that, you're up to minus 125 and minus 132. You can see there from the MGM that's grayed out. This was plus 100 not too long ago, and obviously DeAndre Hopkins is a part of this. But it seems like the Titans are really getting some steam anyway. Some of the podcasts I listen to are fairly positive toward the Titans, feeling like they did have bad injury luck last year. So if that can be better, they think that they could be okay. Treylon Burks did go down in training camp, though it doesn't sound like it's too serious. But that's definitely a big loss for them if he misses any time. So Tennessee is a team that I'm still not too high on, but they do play in a very soft division, obviously outside of Jacksonville. So to get over 7.5 doesn't seem too crazy to me. That's a team that I won't be betting because I just don't have a lot of thought one way or the other. I think around 7.5 seems right to me. But all that to say, this is a price that's getting steeper. If you like them over, probably want to go grab that minus 118 at BetRivers. And if you like them under, you're getting better and better prices. So maybe you even wait it out and get something even better. All right, let's flip over here and talk a little bit about division winners. And I have a few to highlight here. We already talked about Atlanta, but the next one I want to talk about is Detroit. You can see there on line 12, that price is getting better, and you're going to see where in the division this is changing in a different direction here in a second. You can probably guess. But here again, Detroit, I believe it was at plus 125 the last time I did this, and now we've got plus 135 as the floor, and you can get all the way up to plus 160 at BetOnline. So if you like the Lions and are really believing, and I think talent-wise they are, either best or in the argument for best in the division for sure. So plus 160, not a terrible line, and I know there are some people out there that'll probably like that, but that line really has moved up, which is an indicator of some of the stuff that's going on in the division. Next, we're going to go to Kansas City. And you can see here 2 of the 5 books that I'm looking at, the price has gone up. I just wanted to highlight this. You can still get minus 165, which is a little bit worse. It was minus 160 the last time I did this, I think 2 weeks ago. But what's interesting to me is MGM is all the way out to minus 200. BetRivers is at minus 182 and FanDuel is at minus 180. So it seems like this is going to get stretched out even further. I do have Kansas City in a division winner parlay that I did, I believe, with Philly and Jacksonville. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, now might be the time to make a move. If you are not interested in Philly, or in Kansas City, in Kansas City, then you can just sit on it. I do think the Chargers could pose a little bit of a challenge to them, but Kansas City still, with Mahomes there, is the prohibitive favorite for a reason. All right, the next one that we're going to get to is why the Detroit line moved or correlated to the Detroit line moving, and that is the Minnesota Vikings. The price has gotten steeper on the Vikings. 275 is the best that you can get now, and you can see there we're all the way on BetOnline down to 240. There's a couple 260s out there. The Vikings seem to be getting a little bit of a comeback in terms of their perception. I believe a lot of the offseason and even some of my offseason perspective on the Vikings before diving in deeper was driven just by how terrible that defense was, by the fact that they got lucky to win all their close games. Now, some of that I think is they were in those games and you have to be okay to be in them, but they did get lucky to win the number of games that they did. But Minnesota is going to have a powerful offense. The offensive line is the question there, but if the offensive line can hold up at all, Kirk Cousins is a good passer when he has time to throw the ball. And Minnesota has a good skill position group. Obviously, the running back is the question mark there, and we'll see how Madison can do, or if Ty Chandler gets some carries, kind of how they handle all of that. If they even, they're looking at Mike Davis. I don't think he's going to come in and play any kind of big role, even if they signed him. So the perception on Minnesota is getting better. It's actually interesting in the NFC North. It's pretty solid now that you have Detroit at the top, then Minnesota, then Green Bay, and Chicago is definitively at the bottom now. You can see the price has gotten better at 3 of the 5 books on Chicago, and you can get all the way up to plus 450 on Chicago now. And if you compare that to Green Bay, the best you can get is plus 375. Those are two teams who are really pretty much aligned in terms of their division odds not too long ago. And now there is a decided difference between the two. So people are not too high on Chicago, and I am not too high on Chicago either. All right, the next one, this was interesting to me too. 3 of the 5 books, Philly got more expensive. I'm kind of surprised because Philadelphia has such a tough schedule. Obviously, this is a good team, but I sort of expected this price to stay around minus 115 or even minus 110. You can still get minus 115 if you like Philadelphia at FanDuel, but after that, you're up to minus 120 and beyond, all the way as high as minus 135. So there's still a little bit of steam happening here. This is not changing the line on Dallas, though. Dallas is staying around that plus 190 as a best price. This has more to do with the way that I think the Giants and the Commanders are being perceived than it does with Philly or Dallas, as Dallas stays stagnant where they were. And then the last one on this is the Seattle Seahawks. Again, 2 out of 5 books have gotten more expensive. I highlight this partly because now we have 4 of the 5 books that I'm looking at here at plus 200 or worse, plus 195, plus 190. There is still a plus 230 out there at Bet Rivers. If you want to get a bet in on Seattle to win the division as any part of your futures plans or portfolio, now would be the time to do that at Bet Rivers before that comes into alignment with the rest of them. And I'm not sure if that's the best way to approach it. I'm going to talk in a little bit. I mean, I'll talk about Seattle's over on their wins. San Francisco is such a good team that while I have a bet on Seattle to win the division, but that was at plus 275 and it's smaller. So I don't know, plus 230 is fine. And I think Seattle will be good, but I think that San Francisco is favored to win this division for a reason. And I do expect them to win it. All right, let's talk about my best bets here. And I'm going to change up the screen here a little bit. We'll see how much of this we can fit. All right, this is my NFL dashboard, which again, bigtastysports.com. Click on futures and you can see about getting access to this as it's updated. But I want to highlight a few things here. So the first thing is the Miami Dolphins, which I have right here. You can see their over-under is at 9.5 right now, and the best price on the over is plus 101. I have them projected for 10 wins, but I talked about this with Yanni, that I see this as like a 10.3 or 10.4 wins to me. I would shade them toward the 11 more than the 9. Now, I haven't bet this, and I've really gone back and forth because I do like Miami to get over the 9.5, but I like to get a game and a half of clearance rather than just a half a game from my projection. You can see there that I have their floor at 8 and the ceiling at 15, which, you can probably understand then why I would shade them more toward 11. Obviously, we need Tua to stay healthy. So, yeah, I can't tell you that I've bet this yet, but I will say that it's one of those that I continue to consider, especially at plus money. And so I think that it's interesting and worth considering. The other bet on Miami is Miami to win the division at plus 300. You can see there under the green heading, unless you're on the podcast and you'll just have to listen. The implied probability is 25%. And my probability of them winning the division is 35%. I do like them second best in this division after the Bills, and I certainly still like the Jets okay. But after doing a deep dive into all those teams, I feel better about the Dolphins than I do the Jets. And so this is another one that I haven't bet, but I kind of just don't want to bet divisional prices or for the division in with this one where there are three teams that should be in the mix. I like the spots better where I feel strongly that there are two teams who are likely to be fighting it out for the division rather than bringing a third team into the mix. So I can't say that I bet either of these, but those are two that I think are at least worth considering based on what I'm seeing. Next. Sheesh. All right. Next up, we go to the Houston Texans. Houston under 6.5, minus 130. I have them projected for 4 wins, and you can see my ceiling for them is 6. I don't know why I haven't pulled the trigger on this one. There's just a part of me that really likes DeMeco Ryans and wonders if CJ Stroud is going to be able to be a competent passer. And I don't think this division is super strong. And so I've been hesitant on the Texans, but this is a bet I may make. I mean, at minus 130, and I've got 2.5 games. And what I really like to see is that my ceiling is at 6, and this is over under 6.5. So I like that pretty well. And I haven't bet it yet, but I may have a bet on that before long. The other one is Jacksonville to win the division. I've talked about this many times, so I won't belabor it. It's still at minus 155, which is a 60.78% probability, and I have them at a 75% chance to win the division. I know that Tennessee could somehow sneak up on them and take it away, but I think Jacksonville should be the prohibitive favorite in this division. All right, let's go to the NFC for a couple. This is one I've talked about before as well, but the Dallas Cowboys, over 9.5 is up to minus 162. I think I took it at minus 150, but I have them winning 11 games, and I have that as their floor. A little crazy. I go back and I adjust these things from time to time, but I will say I like the Cowboys on both sides of the ball, and I think that their schedule is slightly easier than the Eagles. I think this is going to be a good race between the Eagles and the Cowboys. So if you have not taken the over there, it's one that I still think is a solid bet, even at minus 162. The next one is down to those Chicago Bears, who we talked about a little bit. You can see here, I have them projected for 6 wins, and their over-under is 7.5. You get plus money on the under, plus 110. Justin Fields has not done anything to inspire confidence. I don't know that the defense got better enough, though they did get better. This is another one that I know I haven't bet it yet, but at plus money under 7.5. I like it, and I might have to get in on that. It's worth considering. Another one in this division, and this one I did bet, though, full transparency, I did it with an odds boost that I got. So I'd have to check what the price was that I got. It was 3 something with that boost. But that's Minnesota to win the division at plus 275. It's an implied probability of 26.67%. I have them at a 34% chance to win the division. I still have Detroit as the favorite, but man, the more I sit with this, the more I think that the Vikings offense is going to be a problem. And if the defense can just be good enough to hang in these games, I think the offense can get them some wins. I don't expect them certainly to be as good as last year. I mean, record-wise, I think they could be at least as good in terms of talent, but I haven't projected for 10 wins. If they can get to 10, I think that probably wins them the division. And at plus 275, just percentage-wise, that is, I think, a good price. The other ones, let's see, I've talked about both of these before, so just real quick, you can still get under 4.5 on the Cardinals at minus 120. I have them winning 2 games, so I still think minus 120 is good, even though the price was better when I bet that. And then the Seattle Seahawks also got this at a better price, but over 8.5, minus 142. I have them projected for 10 wins, and I have their floor at 9. So to me, you know, Minus 142 is definitely getting juicy, but I think I'd still take it at that point if I hadn't bet it already, because there is a very, very solid chance that the Seahawks get over 8.5. And I prefer that to the division bet just because, again, I think San Francisco is really good, and I think Seattle probably has to get to 11 games to win the division at least. And so if they get there, they're over this win total anyway, and at least I win my bet, even though obviously plus 230 would be better than minus 142. All right, that is the futures report for August 21st. Let me know what you think on Twitter, comment on the video, and I will be back talking to you again soon. Have a good day.